The Toronto Raptors had a very busy day in free agency yesterday, making moves, officially declaring signing trades, as well as retaining one of the most important, or the most important piece of the franchise. These are the signings of Khem Birch at 3 years, $20 million, the reacquisition or re-signing of Masai Ujiri with a new increase in role, as well as the official sign and trade of Kyle Lowry going through, with Precious Achiuwa and Goran Dragic going to the way of Toronto. So those signings, that sign and trade is what we're going to be talking about within this video. And so let's just get right into it. And so the signing of Khem Birch is more than I thought it was going to be. I'm going to be honest. I didn't think he was going to cost nearly $7 million a season, but it is still a relatively good deal. It's not anything overly expensive. A 3-year deal is fine. I think he showed a lot of promise last year with Toronto. It was his first time in a starting role in his career. And surely, I think Kyle Lowry was a big part of that. I think their connection they had was very good. I think without as true of a playmaker on the roster this year, he might not be as effective, although Goran Dragic, if he gets a few minutes with him, will be promising, because I think Goran Dragic is probably the best playmaker on the team. Malachi, you could argue, was better, but Malachi is still a bit young and inexperienced, yada yada. Fred's not that guy as far as a playmaker goes. I still am convinced he's more of a shooting guard on a point guard's body. But I think Khem Birch can still be good for us next year. I think he can be a good physical center. He is still a bit undersized at 6'9", but I think he's fine there. He has good strength, good physicality. He'll be better than what we had at center last year before we picked him up. That is for sure. And bringing him in at a bit under $7 million a year is fine. Improves the defense, improves the rebound. And of course, it's not Rashawn Holmes. It's not Jared Allen. But I think it's still going to be a fine starting center for us. And now we have Precious Achiuwa in behind him. And I really like Precious. Now, Precious is undersized for a center, and he's not a typical power forward in today's game because he can't shoot the ball very well. As far as, he's just not a three-point shooter, right? And he did play a bit of power forward and center for Miami last year. He's done similarly for Nigeria in the Olympics. I don't know where his long-term best fit is. I feel like center might be his spot because he is fairly physical. He has good athleticism. He can leap. He's just probably not going to be able to defend guys like Joel Embiid at the center spot, but I think the center spot is probably his best position, unless he does develop a three-point shot or even a bit more of a mid-range. But I really like his game. He's really high energy, really high effort on the defensive end, very, very active on the glass. He's just a very hard-working center who I think has a lot of upside, a lot of potential. He's already very good defensively, and I think he has a lot of potential, given the fact that he looks like he's someone who has a very high work ethic, continue to improve and potentially be the center of the future for Toronto after this Khem Birch deal is expired or on the last year of that deal. And that would be the ideal scenario if you can get your future center in this trade back for Kyle Lowry. And Goran Dragic, of course, is there to match salaries. But I don't think Goran Dragic is just a complete throwaway or a throw-in on the trade like some people think he is. Goran Dragic is still going to be a valuable player for us. Now, will he start? Probably not. I suspect he will come off the bench, and Gary Trent will start at that shooting guard spot, Fred at the point guard spot. But I think Goran Dragic is still going to be a very valuable bench piece for us. He's still a fairly good shooter, still a fairly good playmaker. He's not going to put out 18, 20 a night anymore, but he can still put up 10 or 12 a night quite comfortably. He's still a good player. He's just one of those players that people think less of because of his contract. And there's been lots of players like that over the years in the NBA. Andrew Wiggins is a great example of that, where people just put him in a way worse category than he really was, purely due to his salary. Now, sure, he was very bad and very inefficient for a couple of years, but still, you get my point. And so, I think it's a similar scenario for Goran Dragic, where there's some Raptors fans that see a $19 million price tag for someone who's not going to be an impact player for us and just think it's, oh, this is crappy. Now, sure, $19 million for a guy who's not going to be a key player for us does suck, but it's only 1 year. It's off the books next year, and odds are, if he plays well for us throughout the regular season, given it is only a 1 year, we will be able to get some amount of value for him at the trade deadline. It's not going to be anything crazy, but we probably will be able to get some value back for him at the trade deadline. He's going to be a valuable bench piece for us throughout this year. We're a very young team as well, so having his leadership, his experience, his veteran presence in the locker room is also going to be something that's very important. Can't be undervalued either, especially with Kyle Lowry leaving. So I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be good to be there for a year. Of course, it's not someone we're probably going to be interested in locking up again long-term, and that's not something I would advocate for either. But I think he still offers a lot of value to this team moving into this year. And then, of course, Masai Ujiri's back. And he seems to be there for the long term now. I think he's committed. He wants to rebuild this team. Not necessarily rebuild, but retool. Work towards another championship. He wants to bring another title to Toronto. Continue to build on his legacy in Toronto. Toronto's his home. And I think that's kind of what we've seen with this deal from the words that have been used from him and other members within the organization, is that Ujiri wants to stay in Toronto, he wants to build, he wants to continue here. That doesn't really seem to be any indication of him leaving anytime soon. And that is a great sign for all Toronto Raptors fans. Of course, Ujiri came onto a team where Landry Fields and Andre Bargnani and all these guys were playing significant roles. It was a terrible team. Any of us that are true Toronto Raptors fans that have been through the days, or that are just older, I mean, if you're younger, it doesn't mean you're not a true fan. It just means you're young. But if you were there 8, 9 years ago, 2013, 2014, 2012, 2013, back in and around when Ujiri joined, back before we had Kyle Lowry, things were tough. Things were really tough. We were back in the Jose Calderon days. DeMar DeRozan was just young, coming into his own, looked like a really athletic guy, but did not look like he was going to be one of the best mid-range shooters we've ever seen in NBA history. And Ujiri turned the team around. We got the Rudy Gay trade, then we traded away Rudy Gay and brought back a bunch of pieces, most notably Grievous Vasquez and Patrick Patterson, to which Grievous Vasquez helped us get Norman Powell. Brilliant moves after moves after moves from Masai Ujiri. He just went under the radar, built us a great team. Bruno Caboclo being the only real significant miss, and then, of course, not being able to get us a center last year. But I can't even fully blame him on that, because Aaron Baines had a very good season for Phoenix the year before, and then last year just looked like a complete shell of himself. So I don't know if I can really blame him on that one. But that being said, it's very good to have Masai Ujiri back. It'll be very important moving forward Toronto, and will definitely help us as we continue to build moving forward. We have some nice young pieces to continue to build around, and I'm really excited about the future of the Toronto Raptors, and I'm very glad to have Masai Ujiri around for it. But that is my thoughts on the Toronto Raptors moves over the last couple of days during this offseason period. Let me know your thoughts down below on the moves that Toronto have made with regards to the Khem Birch signing and the Kyle Lowry sign and trade. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, pressing that red button down below or the profile picture in the middle of your screen. If you want to hear my thoughts on other free agency signings and moves, be sure to click the box on the right hand side. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.